Hello everybody, I am live. Nice to see you here. Let me know you can see me when you can, and let me know where you're from. I can see, it's amazing, I can see lots of people already on YouTube chatting to each other, which is fantastic. From Alabama and from Canada, Cornwall, the Netherlands, Derbyshire. So, just, say hello. I'm from Glastonbury. Yes, Philip's still feeling a little bit under the weather. So he's asked me to step in tonight. So, say hello. Yay, eyes wide open seeing you finally. There we go. It's amazing the delay. There we go. Birmingham, West Yorkshire, Crouch End, Arizona, Goring. Hello, Goring. Hello, Goring. Come in, Goring. You're everywhere, Ursula. Somerton, Somerset Levels, Virginia, Florida. I mean, we've been doing these Tea with Druids, and I've been doing my live stream music shows now for years, and I hope I never ever lose the feeling of magic when I start to see your names and where you're from. Thank you, Onyxia. Thank you. Eastbourne, Longman Tarot. You might have been at the Longman at the weekend at one of our open ceremonies. Texas, fantastic. Dallas, we have got, already 180 webcams watching, which is quite remarkable. Southern Germany keeps going up. Overton, North Hampshire, Portugal, Gibraltar. Amazing. So, the community is together, and Philip, as I say, is not feeling too good today, so I am stepping in for Tea with the Druid tonight. You might not know who the hell I am. Why should you? I am Damh the Bard. Yep, there, Damh the Bard, or Damh the Bard. I'll answer to Damh the Bard as well, but I just used the AMH to spell my name, which is Dave, and I am the Pendragon of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, and I've just seen someone say that they're new to the order. So that's the thing about Tea with the Druid. This goes out live on our Facebook page, and it's not a private members only area. So some of you will be members of the order, some of you will be Druid adjacent, some of you will be Druid curious, and this is a good way to all join together. Is that like I don't know what that means. My favourite pagan musician of all time. How wonderful. I hope that's me, by the way. I mean, it might not be. You might have just randomly put that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm waffling. And if you've seen my live shows, you know I do definitely waffle. So I am the Pendragon of the Order, which means I am the keeper of the Order's sword. And I'm guessing you can hear me nice and clear. I thought what we do tonight is start with a little meditation, start with a little visualization. And when we meet in Glastonbury, and I am there with the sword, I will step into the centre of the circle or onto the stage as we did with Strode Theatre, and I will unsheath the sword and say words that I heard years ago that I think come from Newin's days of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And I remember hearing them and hearing them associated with the Pendragon. And I say these words, and we follow that with 3 Awen chants. So I thought what we'd do is do that as I'm here. Some of you might not have seen the Order's sword before. So I thought, just let's take some slow breaths together to begin with, shall we? So find your centre and get comfortable in your seat or wherever you are. And take a long, slow breath with the earth beneath us. And a long, slow breath with the sky above us. And a long, slow breath with the seas that surround this island and your lands. Now imagine us all, and there's probably hundreds of us watching right now, but instead of sitting in our individual homes, if you want to close your eyes, just imagine a large clearing in a woodland, a field surrounded by trees. And in that field is a large circle of people standing hand in hand. And maybe there's a fire in the centre, or maybe a stone circle, or a tree. It could be night, it could be day. Just feel that community, that sense of community. Reaching out and touching and holding the hands of people all over the world. And let all disturbing thoughts be set aside. Bring your awareness now back to where you are in the room or wherever you are. And maybe leave a little bit of awareness in that clearing as well. As I step forward, behold this, our order's sword, drawn from the lake of still meditation and returned to it again. Ever sharp and ever with us should our lake be stilled. Bring your awareness properly back into this space. So welcome everybody. What do I want to talk about now? These little talks are interesting because you always have to be aware that you will be listening to my Druidry, and there are now 300 webcams watching. And I don't know how many of you are watching each webcam. There could be 4 people more behind that webcam, so there could be 1,000 people watching right now, and all of our Druidry can be different. So it's just I've got the microphone tonight. And I was thinking earlier that druidry or druid could be a verb. It could be a doing word, i.e. I druid, you druid, he, they, she druids. It's not just a intellectual concept. And although you can be a druid being rather than a druid doing, I think that our druidry often, and you may agree or you may disagree, but it's how we act in the world. It's who we are. I couldn't unpick my druidry from me as a person. It informs my entire life. And if you're new to the order, don't think this is scary, because actually it's wonderful, because it gives a holistic view of the world and of being in it. And I must stop reading the comments, otherwise I always forget my flow. So it may inform all the regular everyday choices we make in life, of who we buy our food from, where we buy our food from, what we eat, what we don't eat, the kind of vehicle we drive, how we heat our house. A lot of the emphasis there obviously will be on looking after the environment. I do have a tea. I'm going to have a little slurp. Cheers. So all of those things of how we interact with the everyday living of a human being, druidry informs. So even in that, you are being druid. Then, of course, there's something else. And this is the bit that makes druidry radical. And that after you've been involved with druidry for, 10, 20, 30 years, sometimes I think it's easy to forget how radical what we do is when it comes to everyday life. We celebrate 8 festivals of the year, the wheel of the year. And many of us don't just sit in our rooms and do it on our own. We'll go out and be in communities, and we'll go to sacred sites, and we will celebrate, like we've celebrated here in the Northern Hemisphere recently, Imbolc. In the Southern Hemisphere, you would have celebrated Lunasa. And often, and if you haven't done this, I would recommend doing it for at least 2 years. For each festival, go back to the same place, so you really see the turning seasons with the same view. We've been going to the Long Man of Wilmington for 24 years now, and that's 24 turns of the wheel. And every year, although you can sense Imbolc, it's different. Sometimes rarely we've stood there in a t-shirts. Other times we've been in a blizzard, but it's still been Imbolc. Those signs of, those first signs of spring have always been there. But not everyone does that. That's something that is peculiar to us. And we mark it with ritual. Again, a very radical idea of, in this modern day and age, marking a turning season with ceremony and ritual to enhance that connection with words and poetry. I think it was Nguyen who said, ceremony or ritual is poetry in the realm of acts. The very act of doing ceremony is poetic. It's otherworldly, and it reaches a different part of us than just going for a drive because it's a nice late winter's day, So that can be radical. And then, of course, there's our there's something, there's the X factor, isn't it? We many of us are gardeners, many of us do allotments and that kind of things, and we grow our own food. Some of us, as we say, are keen astrologers or things like that. But there's something else. Alan Titchmarsh is a fantastic gardener. There's no doubt he loves the earth. David Attenborough is an amazing naturalist. There's no doubt he loved the earth. But are they druids? No, there's something else. There's something else. There's an X factor that makes that druidry to me. And I thought, well, when did that happen? And people have asked me in the past, when did you start to feel that there was an interest in magic and the hidden aspects of life and the universe? And for years I used to say it was the words of Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath and Rainbow and Led Zeppelin, in my teenage years, that led me on to to read books about magic. But it was earlier than that. It was actually earlier than that. And myself and Kerry were talking about this the other day, and I realised probably my first real memory of of the idea of elves and the other world and the Elfland and Anun and that connection with spirit was in and here we go, we're going to go back a few years now. I don't know how many of you will remember, but we bought this. Yeah, Rupert the Bear. Who remembers Rupert the Bear? We found this book, and it's some of the most popular stories of Rupert. And Rupert the Bear lives in a world where the fairy are visible and magical, and it's just beautiful. And I started to read the very... love Rupert, yes. Yes, the Discworld novels. I can even remember the cartoon on the telly. I could sing you the theme tune even to this day. I absolutely loved Rupert the Bear. And the very first story, I'll give you an outline. I won't tell it to you, but I'll give you the outline. Very first story in this book is Rupert finds a whistle. Now, this isn't a M.R. James ghost story, whistle and I'll come to you kind of thing. Little Rupert finds a whistle and he tries to blow it and it won't work. And he meets a traveller, and the traveller sits on a fence, and he tries to get some notes out of it, and he gets a note out of it, and suddenly the fence disappears and it just breaks beneath him. And the traveller blames Rupert and gets, "Oh, you naughty boy," and walks on. And then Rupert meets with his friend, the pig, who I think his name's Podgy. And Podgy says, "Oh, can I have a go at that whistle?" Yeah? And he has a go and he can't get a note out of it. But he said, "Can I take it away?" And they say, "Sure, take it away and try and get a note out of it." So Podgy walks off. Rupert goes home. That night, there's a rustling in Rupert's drawers. His underwear drawers and things like that. And suddenly socks and pants and everything are coming out of this underwear drawer. And he goes over and there's this little imp fairy in there. And he says, "I'm looking for our whistle. Where's our whistle?" And Rupert says, "I gave it to my friend Podgy." And he goes, "Well, that's no good. That's no good. We need it because that's the whistle that we blow to draw the fairy together, to say that it's now spring. And we need to go into the fields and into the woodlands, and we need to go to the plants, and we need to help those plants grow." Anyway, it ends up that they get the whistle back, and the farmer comes over and he says, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. My field's almost very behind. There's not enough on it. There's nothing growing at the time. Anyway, I better go back." And when the farmer goes back, sure enough, the fae, the imp, the elf, has blown that whistle, gathered the fairy together. And when the farmer goes back, suddenly, when he returns, the field is full of crops. That's a folk tale, isn't it? That's a folk tale. And my mum would have read that to me when I was a kid. And she read me a book called Spridgeons and Treacle, which is all about the treacle mines in Cornwall. And Spridgeons are a particular type of fairy in Cornwall where I used to live. And I think it was those tales that just planted the seed of that Druid within me, that then led me on to the words of Ozzy Osbourne. And then, of course, Robin of Sherwood. Robin of Sherwood, where I first saw Herne the Hunter in the forest. That, I think it was at 1980s. I think it was 1980s. Might be, yeah. If some of you will remember Robin of Sherwood with Michael Praed. And that kind of led me where I am today. And I think that's that planted that X factor, that need or wish to explore and find something else, something hidden, something not part of everyday life. And I've noticed there are people saying Harry Potter, C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, you know, popular culture can really bring people to this stuff. You know, Obod's membership grew a lot during the periods of Harry Potter. It brought a lot of people, and it also brought a lot of people to the craft as well, to witchcraft, as we know. And so what is it? What is that? What's that story? What's the energy there? And I think what it is it's the seeds of animism, the seeds of seeing the world through the eyes of an animistic view. And again, there will be people watching this who don't really know what animism is. And I think it's one of the ways that it was described to me is it comes from, to me, it's come from stripping away all of the stuff of my spiritual beliefs till I get back to the right root of everything, of what makes me tick as a modern Druid. And if all religious books, you know, disappeared, along with any memory that they ever existed. And I don't just mean, you know, the Quran or the Bible. I mean all of the books that we've read as Druids as well. Shock horror. And all of the pagan books. Every single spiritual book disappeared. And along with it, the memory of what they contained. So that every human on the planet was back to the first square on the game. What would happen? What would happen is what did happen. We would begin to look at the sun, the moon, the earth, the seasons, the stars, and we would start to see relationship between those elements, and we would start to feel the four elements of earth, air, fire and water. And after a while we would start to tell stories of their relationship, that once upon a time the sun moved really fast across the sky, too fast in fact for anything to grow. By the time we woke up, it was dark again. So one day, the great warrior threw a net up into the sky and caught the sun and pulled on the sun to slow the sun down. So there became 24 hours in a day, and it became enough sunlight during the day for life to grow and flourish. And stories like that would just start to bubble up all across the world in different cultures. And they would hear thunder and give it a name. They would see the sea and give the spirit of the sea a name. And so you literally have the end results of that now, with the spirit of the sea in Brythonic culture being known as Hllir or Manawyddan, or in Nordic culture as Njord or Ran, and all over the world. But the spirit of the sea is the same spirit of the sea. It's just the cultures give birth to these different names. And so animism looks not just at the stars and the sun and the earth as rock, burning gases, but as spirits, as persons. And the same with all of the animals of the land would have been persons and spirits that we share this planet with. And a mountain would not be judged on the amount of money we could earn from the minerals that mountain contained, but rather from the relationship of the town or the village to that mountain that maybe protects it from the wind. And therefore, grandfather mountain needs to be respected and not mined. And I can't help but feel that animism could, if we developed our animistic way of looking at the world, could even save the planet. And I know that sounds crazy, but I can't help but think that's how it could be. I for years organised the OBOD summer and winter gatherings in Glastonbury, and my last one that I organised was last winter. And I wanted to go out, of course, with I wanted to put on an animistic conference. So one of the talks there was by Professor Graham Harvey. And if you've not heard the talk, I put his talk from the winter gathering onto Druidcast, the Orders podcast. And in it, he talks about different worlds existing within the planet. And I hadn't heard that before. And I can completely see how that actually is. That when I came away, it was like my mind went even more with this idea of animism, that there are dog worlds. Oscar is down here, my dog. He's underneath here. He's very good, but there are horse worlds and hedgehog worlds, and there are stone worlds, and there are fish worlds, and he says, salmon worlds, and there is the human world, and sometimes those worlds overlap and clash even sometimes. And that my dog here sees the world in a completely different way to me. He sees with his nose. There are elements within this wonderful being's brain that when he sniffs, it fires images that I can't even begin to imagine. Yet somehow us humans think that the world can be defined by the way we see the world, by our senses. But I can't see infrared or ultraviolet, but some birds can. In fact, some birds can see those colours, and that's how they navigate on these thousands and thousands of miles trips they make across the sea. Hope this is all making sense. I'm trying not to waffle. I'm trying for it all to kind of connect together here. And so when we come across things like the Ogham, for instance, the Druidic tree alphabet, we could be led to believe that let's say a rowan tree, if we walk into the forest and we see a rowan tree, that the rowan tree is a messenger for us. The rowan is living in rowan tree world. The rowan is being a rowan tree in rowan tree world. We step into their world when we connect with them. But when we've done that and spirit meets spirit, rather than just the fact that tree equals wood equals stuff for fires or building with, instead of that we meet tree to human, spirit to spirit, person to person. That's where we can connect. And I think that's one of the biggest gifts to me of the Druid path. It's this set of skills that we learn within the Gwersi to just connect on a much deeper level with the natural world. And if you look at the poems of Taliesin, of course there's a lot of, the English are all horrible poems, but there's also this other set of mystical poems where he lists all of the things he has been. And I can't help but think that even then, the spirits of those bards were seeking that connection, knowing that I have been the rowan tree by that communication and that connection with it. Well, that's half an hour. That's a lot of information. I hope you're enjoying that. I am going to end by giving you a little song. It's just gone Imog. So I will grab my guitar here. And this. If you don't know me, I'm also a Druid songwriter, musician. And I will turn that up a little bit. As we've just gone past Imog, I'll sing a song dedicated to Bridget, and then I will leave you for to enjoy the rest of your evening. There's a tree by the well in the wood that's covered in garlands. Pluties and ribbons that drift in the cool morning air. That's where I met an old woman who came from a far land, holding a flame o'er the well and chanting a prayer. Goddess of fire, goddess of healing, goddess of spring, welcome again. She told me she'd been a prisoner trapped in a mountain, taken by the Queen of Winter from summer's end. But in her prison she heard the spell the people were chanting. 3 days of summer and snowdrops are flowering again. Goddess of fire, goddess of healing, goddess of spring, welcome again. She spoke of the cell of the oak where a fire is still burning. 19 priestesses tend the eternal flame. Oh, but of you, my lady, we are still learning. Bright Brigantia, goddess of many names, goddess of fire, goddess of healing, goddess of spring, welcome again. Then I saw her reflection in the mirrored well, and I looked deep in her face. The old woman gone, a maiden now knelt in her place, and from my pocket I pulled a ribbon, and in honour of her maidenhood I tied it there to the tree by the well in the wood. Goddess of fire, goddess of healing, goddess of spring, welcome again, welcome again, welcome again. So that kind of brings us full circle back to Rupert the Bear marking the seasons, taking notice. And although the Bard is all about things like that, about performance and about inspiration and about the Awen and learning to channel that into our lives, I think the biggest thing about being a bard is learning to listen, is to be able to stop at a sacred place and just open up and listen. And from that Awen then flows. So my friends, peace, blessed be. Have a great rest of your evening, your day, wherever you are. It's been lovely to be with you. And yes, send some healing Philip's way. I think he needs it. He's feeling a bit, he sounded a bit rough today when I spoke to him. So send him that healing. And yes, thank you for sharing your time with me here on Tea with the Druid. And I'll see you along the road. Peace, blessed be. Thank you, my friend. Cheers. Bye-bye.